Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Weekly Dartscast. Alex Moss here, bringing you a new episode in our Darts Legends series. We've had John Lowe, Wayne Mardle, Keith Deller and Bob Anderson so far, and now we're on to our nominated players. Every player that we chat to, we're asking them to nominate a player for us to get in touch with for this Legends series, and this is the recommendation from Wayne Mardle. He's asked us to get in touch with the artist Kevin Painter, a former World Championship finalist, a major winner as well, the winner of the 2011 Players' Championship Finals, and of course a player that's played in the Premier League as well. So here's our chat with Kevin. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the artist himself, Kevin Painter. Kevin, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Alex, thanks.
Thanks very much for taking the time. As I mentioned just before we started, Wayne Mardle suggested we had a chat with yourself and talk about your career in the game, and what we're doing with everyone really is starting from the beginning. How did you first get into darts?
Yeah, I mean, I was into football, you know, like most young kids were, young lads were, you know, coming out of school and stuff like that. So it was mainly football all the time. But when the weather weren't no good, I wanted something else to do. So when I was about 14, 15, I put a dartboard up and sort of took to it from there, really. I got pretty good pretty quick and sort of carried on from there. I was sort of hooked on it, really.
Yeah, I mean, just looking back to those early days, you started playing county darts for Essex as a teenager, really, in your late teens. So you immediately really got quite good at the game and made it to a decent standard quite early on.
Yeah, I just went down a local pub and club when I was like 16, 17 and sort of was playing quite regular. And I thought I'd have a go at the Super League when I was about 19, I think I was, when I joined Super League, and I was picked for the county after 6 Super League games, and I quite enjoyed that as well. My county days, I've made over 120 odd appearances, I think, for Essex. Really enjoyed all that sort of part of my career, and that I just got good quick, and I was quite lucky like that. End up playing for England, and fantastic moments. Really, I was proud to represent my country and that, etc.
I think it was probably around your early 20s, mid-20s when we start to see you play on the BDO Open circuit, I suppose, touring around Europe and playing the bigger events. But maybe what did you get up to between that time, late teens, early 20s playing darts? Was it just playing county darts and playing local league during that time?
Yeah, that's all I was doing. I was still working. I was in the building trade then, so I was coming home from work, going out playing local league darts 3-4 times a week, and I just really enjoyed it, and I carried on playing sort of obviously Super League on a Wednesday night down Essex, and my county darts on a Sunday, and after that I was getting really good, and then we went through a period where the building trade was sort of really in a bad way, and I was on 2-3 days a week, and I thought, if I could put a bit more effort into this darts, I could perhaps earn a living out of it. So I sort of put all my efforts into that, and sort of ended up turning pro when I was about 28, I think, 29. So I made my BDO World Championship debut in 1994. Played with the BDO till the year 2000, and then off I went to the PDC then.
Yeah, I've got down to that first World Championship, 1994. Just talk to me about how the process really for qualifying for that, because I'm assuming you came through the qualifiers to get that first appearance at Lakeside that year.
Well, no, I mean, I was on the BDO tour, so I originally started it, I was knocking around with Rod Harrington then. He was world number 1, and one of the first events I went to was the Denmark Open, and I lost to Rod in the final. We travelled there together, and I lost to him in the final, funny enough. But I'd sort of started just a couple of years before that doing bits of the circuit, the BDO circuit. But in 94, I'd done the whole lot and then qualified through the point system there. Mm-hmm. That's how it was in them days.
What was that first moment like, turning up to Lakeside, playing in a World Championship for the first time? Obviously, these are the first few years yourself taking it more seriously, I suppose, and going down that route of being a professional.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic venue there. I wasn't a full-time pro when it wasn't until three years after that I turned pro, but fantastic venue down there at Lakeside, and really enjoyed it. It's just a lovely venue, lovely stage setup and everything. And just wanted to. The only trouble was in them days they only had one tournament. It was all or nothing. You either qualified for the World Championship or that was your lot, really. So, it was. You put all your efforts into making sure you had enough points to play in that, and then hopefully do well in it. So I had some half decent moments in it. I wouldn't say I was fantastic in it, but I really enjoyed my time there.
As you're making your way in the game at that time, I don't know if you were too really aware of how big a moment that was, that 1994 World Championship, the first one since the split itself. What did you really remember from that time? Because that was a big moment in darts, wasn't it, when the two codes came together?
Yeah, well, I was aware of all the to and fro of the disagreement between two sides, and I was sort of stuck in the middle, if you like, because I was travelling the year before and the year before that with the lads that went on the split, Rod Harrington and all the guys. So I decided that I'd sort of stick around with the BDO set up for a bit more and try and sort of build up a bit of form, if you like, and see how it went from there. I didn't really know enough about the politics of the game then to sort of say, well, I'm going PDC or anything like that. I sort of, WDC I think at the time, but I sort of stuck around, and as I say, I really enjoyed the years I was there.
And it's during the rest of the 90s, really, you're playing on the BDO circuit, getting more experience as you go, and picking up some big titles, the England Open, the British Open, the British Match Play, beating Steve Beaton in the final. What are your real memories that stand out from that time, still playing on the BDO circuit?
Yeah, I was on good form. Funny enough, on 96, 97, I think it was, I won all three, the England Open, the British Classic and the British Open, all on the same year, and then failed to qualify for the World Championship, either just before that or just after. I couldn't remember, but they were, we was doing Breen Sands, all the Pontins camps as well, so I won a few of them titles as well, so yeah, enjoyed it.
And I suppose the other big part really during playing in the BDO, as you touched on earlier, is getting to play for England. Still a big part really. What was that like? I know you had a bit of success later on winning the Europe Cup team event during that time, but what was it like the first time putting on that England shirt?
Yeah, it's amazing. Every player that wants to be successful in their given sport, they want to represent their country, and getting that call up was really good. I was proud of myself, and as I say, it's something everyone wants to do. And I had a pretty successful career. I was in the 5-man team quite often, and played in the Europe Cup. I thought I was unlucky to miss out on a couple of World Cups, but really pleased to have done what I'd done. I think I still got my first England shirt as well. So yeah, proud moments.
Back to your own personal career, really heading towards the end of the 90s, early noughties, and we're starting to see you playing in PDC events as well as the BDO. Just for those who maybe don't know what the system was like back then, obviously we're seeing you play at Lakeside, and we're then seeing you play on the PDC on TV in some of their bigger events. How did it work, the system back then, being able to play both of the codes?
Well, it was only for a short time you could play on both codes. I'd gone through a couple of qualifying events and qualified for the World Match Play at Blackpool through the PDC. At the time, the PDC were allowing the BDO lads to play in their qualifying events as such, and so I got through that. I got through the World Grand Prix a couple of times as well, and was sort of going back and playing BDO events. And in the end, the PDC sort of asked, as I say, it was WDC I think at the time, they sort of asked for a bit more commitment from the lads that were doing that, sort of saying along the lines of, can you just, you're coming and playing in our events and our TV things and then going back to BDO, can you make sort of a bit more of a commitment to us? And it was then a case of weighing up, pretty much, to be honest. It was a financial side of things, I think, that we was only playing one TV event with the BDO, and there was a lot on offer starting to sort of come up with the PDC side of things. So I think there was a group of 6 or 7 of us: Steve Beaton, Ronnie Baxter, several other lads. We sort of made the decision that we was going to join the PDC and make a commitment there, and the rest is history. Been there ever since.
We'll come on to really that part of your career, the WDC / the PDC, but just one more point really, looking back at the BDO, those times, the last couple of appearances at Lakeside, back-to-back quarterfinals. Obviously you're a bigger name then, but what are your real memories from those last couple of years at Lakeside? Did you feel like maybe you could have got further in either of those years?
Yeah, I don't know, I never really played to my full potential when I was at the BDO World Championship, to be fair. I maybe had a couple of years where I was on a bit of decent form and could have done better, but overall, it was just a couple of quarterfinals that I made. I only really sort of started to hit real form when I joined the PDC, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at at 2001, it was the last year really that you played on the BDO circuit. Quarters, as I mentioned, at Lakeside, quarterfinals, World Masters, and then I think your final BDO event at the Zoyderdown Masters, you got a quarterfinal there. What was it like, that final event, knowing that was going to be it for you BDO wise, and you were going to move on to a new chapter, if you like?
Well, I don't know. At the actual time, I can't remember whether it was. I don't know whether I knew actually when I played that event that it would be my last. I think it was probably after that I might have sort of sat down, had a good think about it, and decided what I was going to do. But I can't really remember the ins and outs in them last couple of events, to be honest. And
let's move on to the PDC then. As you mentioned, going through the qualifiers to play in some of their flagship events during those early days, and a couple of meetings with Mr. Phil Taylor, 2000 World Grand Prix, just losing out in a decider, but the following year beating him in the first round of the World Grand Prix. Many people regard it as one of the biggest shocks in the history of that event. What was it like to be the player to do it?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, your name gets put on the map then, and Phil hadn't been beaten for years. It was well known. He was just dominating everything. He'd get the odd defeat here and there, but in general he was sort of winning near on everything. So it was nice nice obviously, and it was a good stepping stone to move on from there.
And so, end of 2001, moving into 2002, you're making that full transition over to the PDC. What was that like, making the full switch over and being a part of the PDC on a full-time basis?
Yeah, well, it was great because it was like starting out again, really. It's a fresh challenge. You get a bit stale sometimes doing the same thing all the time, and it was something new for us lads that moved over. It was nice to have something else to look forward to, if you like. As I say, a new challenge.
And some big runs in those early few years. 2003, getting to the semi-finals of the World Championship, just losing out to John Part, who of course goes on to win the tournament himself. And we come on to the following year, 2004, one of the greatest finals, greatest games that we've ever seen. But just heading into that year at the Circus Tavern, how are you feeling about your game, about your form heading into that tournament?
I can't remember what my form was like in the previous events, to be honest, Alex. I just know that when I got into that, well, I always sort of played well in World Championships. The set format suited me so much better than match play format, and I just sort of hit form on that. I mean, I was on form the previous year when I lost to John in the semi, and so you're looking forward to it. I was on my home ground, if you like, Essex, down at the Circus Tavern. I mean, a lot of these players that are on the scene now, the young lads, they wouldn't have played in a venue like that before. You could literally, the crowd at the front could literally lean over the stage and touch the back of your leg if you were that close. So a lot of lads wouldn't know what that venue was like. Very low ceiling, the atmosphere in there was incredible, and obviously I had a lot of support down there, which helped because I only lived down the road from there when I was younger.
Yeah, and looking at the run, you kick things off, a 4-3 win against Paul Williams, then you get one over Ronnie Baxter 4-2, Mark Durbridge 5-1, and then semi-finals beating a former world champion Bob Anderson 6-0, whitewashing him to get through to your first World Championship final. What are the highlights really that stick out from getting to the final?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tight game with Paul Williams at the start, and could have gone either way. When you look back on things like that, you think, well, that could have gone the wrong way there. I think I was sort of comfortable in the game for a bit, and then Paul come back at me and get through that. Once you've got through the first round of big TV events, you feel like you're right into it, and then I played Ronnie in the second round, and we played each other so many times over the years, and I think Ronnie probably had a better record against me. It was nice to get one over on him, and then you're really into the meat of the tournament then.
And then we come to the final itself, going up against Phil Taylor, as you touched on there. You're really on home ground, really, at the Circus Tavern. A lot of support during those days. What was the build-up like to that final, turning up to the venue and getting ready to play in a World Championship final?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great to be in a World Championship final. There's a lot of people that will just never do that. One thing I do remember is the players' room upstairs at the Circus Tavern. It's just like one level up, and you can look out the window there. It's got blinds up at the windows where the dart practice boards were, and just looked out there, and 2-3 o'clock, there's people actually queuing up to get in at that time of the day. It was ridiculous. Just a great day, apart from obviously the end result, but it was a great day. Yeah,
just apart from the result, but you were part of one of the best games. A lot of people talk about it still to this day in history of darts and the PDC, and looking at it itself, I mean, back in the day, it was the most watched game in PDC history, over 800,000 people watching it. That record's since gone. I think the final that Phil had with Barney, but just looking at the final itself, goes all the way 6-all, 5-all, going to that sudden death leg. What's going through your mind when you're going up for the ball, really, to play that final leg?
You're just firing hoping you hit the ball and get the start, but it seems to be a lot of pressure. There's more. I feel like I'm more nervous watching games on TV and watching the lads playing on TV sometimes when they're playing sudden death than you are yourself, because you're out of control of it. But when you're actually playing, you don't feel them nerves. And I didn't. In them days, I never used to fear Phil anyway. We knew what he was capable of, but half the battle was mentally. If you overthought what Phil was going to do to you during a game, you'd never beat him anyway. I mean, my record was really poor against Phil, but I always played well against him, or sort of 9 times out of 10, I gave him a really good game. So even when I was 4-1 up, I didn't think, well, I'd won it. Because you knew that at some stage Phil was going to come back into the game, and sure enough, he did.
And how do you look back on that day, that game now? Obviously, it's 15, 16 years since, and still people talk to you about it. We're talking about it now, but what do you think about when people bring out that game now?
No, obviously I'm disappointed I didn't win it, but I'm proud to have been part of such a fantastic game. There's a lot of lads played in finals and been absolutely hammered and didn't turn up, and the moments passed them by. But I think we was on stage for like 3 3/4 hours. Just a great game from the start till the end. I was pleased to be part of it. Of course, I'm disappointed that I didn't win it. You don't get a chance to be a world champion very often unless you're someone like Phil Taylor, Michael Van Gerwen and the likes. But it could have gone. There's a lot of people think, when I speak to a lot of people at exhibitions and things, as you say, everyone talks about it, everyone's mentioning it, and they say, oh, how do you feel? You should have hit that double, blah, blah, blah. Well, I never got a chance to. I left the double on several occasions and never got a shot to win it. A lot of people think I had a shot to win it and missed it. No, I didn't. I left the double on several occasions, and Phil never let me have a shot, unfortunately. But that's the way it goes with Phil. You don't miss a lot.
We go forward a couple of years, really. I think it's around 2007, and a player that you've mentioned previously, Rod Harrington, he was talking, I think it might have been on Sky, about yourself, and maybe you were dipping out of form a little bit, and I think you said yourself that you used that a little bit to fuel yourself to make that comeback really the next few years. Was that something that you took personally, the criticism maybe that you got from maybe Rod on TV when you weren't in such good form?
No, you're going to get criticised anyway, don't matter how good you are. And when you've been on form and then you're suddenly not on such good form, people are going to talk about it. 2005, I'd sort of done half decent. 2006 and 7 didn't do a lot. So, he was right, but it does spur you on to, to say to yourself, let's get back at it. And 2008, I came back pretty strong, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another World Championship semi-final. The first year it was held at Alexandra Palace, and still making some decent runs on TV. And we come to probably, you're going to say that the best moment of your career, I'm guessing, 2011, the Players' Championship finals, winning that first PDC major title at the Doncaster Dome. Just talk me through what that was like to get over the winning line and pick up that big silverware at the end of a tournament.
Yeah, obviously it was fantastic. When I come out 2008, the World Championship in 2008, I think I should have won that year. I was the best player that week. People might argue with that. I think I was the best player that week. And once that sort of event passed by, I sort of drifted out of form again, if you like. And building up to the Players' Championship, I was on no sort of form whatsoever going into the players at Doncaster Dome. Weren't on any sort of form and just rocked up there sort of not expecting anything really. So it was nice to hear a bit of form there as well.
You look at some of the results that you picked up on that way to the title that weekend, beating some big names there, Gary Anderson, Mervyn King, Mark Webster in the final itself. What was the moment like for you when the winning double goes in against Mark in that final, and you know that you've done something that you've never done before, I suppose?
Yeah, well, it's a couple of things. Obviously, absolutely delighted to do it. Relief, I think, is another word, because, it was well said. A couple of pundits, one sort of said, after sort of missing out on a couple of close things of winning a major, thought I wouldn't do it. So it was nice to actually prove them wrong and prove myself right. You've got to believe in your own ability anyway and stick with it. You have to. And just a fantastic moment, really, to get it done and dusted. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the following year, another big moment for yourself, getting picked to play in the Premier League 2012. What was the feeling like when you got the call to find out that you were going to be playing in the Premier League? 'Cause it's one of the biggest tournaments there is in the game now.
Yeah, that was an amazing thing as well, playing in the Premier League. In them days, you had to win something to get picked. You had to win a TV major to get picked in the Premier League. Rules are slightly different now, and they're sharing it about a bit. But back then, if you won a major, you had a very good chance of getting in it. So having to play every week and doing the same thing because they'd been in it for years. But me, I was like a kid with a new toy. It was brilliant. Really enjoyed every single minute of it. Crowds were fantastic, playing in front of huge crowds. Great, loved every minute of it.
Really looking back at the last couple of years now, it's obviously you're not playing on the PDC main tour at the moment. You lost your tour card at the end of 2018. What was that like for yourself to really take at the end of that season, knowing that you'd have to go to Q School if you wanted to get back on the tour?
I don't know really. Over the last 3 years, I weren't in the best of health, and things sort of bypassed me really. Although I was going to tournaments wanting to do well, and I just wasn't, and I don't know if it wasn't bothering me, or it just wasn't registering that how sort of serious the moments could be. And I was turning up, I weren't in the greatest of health, didn't know it at the time, but it just didn't feel right, and slipped down the rankings. Once you start missing TV events, that's when you got problems, because the points that you defend every 2 years come off, and it's a snowball effect. And I should never have lost my card on the final year. I realised on my final year when I lost it that, you know, I had to do something pretty good to save it. I was dropping down quite quick, but so many games I lost when I was in complete control of them. I know some of the lads packed up darts when they were getting beat 5-1, 6-1s and 6-0s and things, but my results weren't like that. I was getting beat 6-5, 6-4. I was throwing away leads, 5-1 leads, 5-2 leads. My concentration levels were just out the window completely, and I couldn't finish games off. If I had have finished off half the games that I ended up losing, I would have saved my card, because I only missed out on a few £1,000 missing out on it. But it just all sort of happened. I had something going on in my personal life as well. Everything sort of came at one go, and I didn't deal with it particularly well. And my form, as you say there, I missed so many opportunities to actually save my card, if you like, and wasn't to be. So it was a case of, well, get yourself sorted, and you'll have to give Q School a bash.
Yeah, and you were at Q School 2019 and came very close to getting that tour card back straight away on the final day, losing out in the semi-finals. What was the emotions like, really, when you lost out in that final game, coming so close to getting back on the tour?
Yeah, well, it's a 4-day event, not sort of suits someone of my age, if you like, and it was a difficult thing. I didn't play well on the first 2 days at all. Notoriously well known for not playing as well on the floor as I do on stage, so them events were always going to be difficult for me. But first 2 days didn't play well, and then I sort of thought to myself, you better do something if you're going to get anywhere here. And obviously last 2 days sort of picked up a bit. Final day played really, really well. The two lads I played in the last 2 games to get through, they'd already won their cards, so they're playing me all relaxed, they're already through. I think the system was wrong. I knew Kirk Shepherd when he beat me in the final. I knew he already had his card. He was just throwing like all casual and relaxed, where different scenario for me. So I think that system is wrong, or was wrong. I don't know if it's changed now, I can't even remember, but wasn't great. So, and obviously losing out on the last day, not ideal, if you like. But I got to a final of it as well. There's players that didn't get anywhere near a final and end up getting their card. That's the system you have to go with. Yeah,
I mean, just looking at nowadays, really, last year, this year, early part of this year, we've seen you play on the PDC circuit, on the Challenge Tour. Obviously, you're still very popular on the exhibition circuit as well, and I suppose it's difficult really to talk about at the moment with what's going on outside of darts at the moment. But for yourself personally, where do you see your future in darts? Are you still keen to get back on the PDC circuit? What's the future, do you think, for yourself?
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, wasn't in the best of health over the last couple of years. That seems to have been sorting itself out now, and I'm quite happy now, and my form's picked up now. I still do like tournaments, knockout tournaments, and I find them good for, testing your form and things like that. It's obviously not the sort of standard you're used to playing on the Pro Tour that I was used to, but it's still good, and I really enjoy it, which I wasn't enjoying anything on the Pro Tour. Enjoying it, you're not going to play well. But these knockouts I go to, I enjoy them. That you see different people you haven't seen for years, play against different people. One thing with the Pro Tour, obviously, you're playing the same people week in, week out. So, I'm going to carry on doing a few of them. I'll probably give Q School one more bash, see how I get on, and hopefully I'm on sort of decent form. I'll carry on with my exhibitions. That's one part of the darts I really do enjoy. Doing my exhibition nights and things, meeting some great people you've never met before as well. So, and there's no pressure there. You just relax and having a fun night. So I shall carry on doing that as long as I can. Obviously had a few cancelled while we're dealing with this virus stuff, but hopefully they'll get rebooked and I can fill them in again at the end of the year.
As you mentioned there, with the virus, a lot of downtime at the moment, and we've seen on Twitter the last few days you've been putting some pictures up, some memorabilia, some other bits in in the past. What bits stand out for you from what you've got at home, really, from your time playing darts?
I've got some nice stuff I forgot I even had. I've got my darts room up there, and it's full of gear. And I know there's so many darts fans like looking at old stuff like that. So I thought when I was just sitting there digging things out there, and I thought, people might like to see that. I've got some great Eric Bristow stuff, who was, my hero from when I was a kid. Some old posters of some of the other lads there, Bob Anderson, that. I've got a nice big photo that Phil put in a frame for me after that final. I shall put a picture of that up on Twitter later. I haven't actually got that one shown yet, but I've got some great stuff, and I got my first ever set of darts when I was 15 years old. I found stuff that I'd never, I've forgotten I had, if you like. It's got some good stuff.
Excellent. And lastly, just looking at your career so far, if you had to pick out one moment that stands out the most for you, your favourite moment in your time playing the game, what's the one that stands out the most for you?
Well, obviously winning the TV major is an outstanding sort of moment for me. Anybody wins a TV major, there's going to be thousands and thousands of players that don't win TV majors. There'll be players better than me that won't get a chance to win a TV major. So you have to turn around. I think it would have been a travesty of justice if I hadn't. After the form I was on for a lot of years, I've come so close on several occasions. You've only got to look at someone as good as Terry Jenkins. I think Terry was in 9 finals and never won one. That is a proper travesty of justice, if you like. Bless him, Terry. But no, that has to be the moment. And playing in the world final is something else that I'm proud to have done as well.
Well, Kevin, it's an absolute pleasure to chat to you about an excellent career that you've had in the game. Thank you very much for your time, and glad to hear that you're keeping well as well.
You're welcome, Alex. Thanks very much, mate.
Thanks again for Kevin for taking the time to chat to us. And coming up on the Legend Series, we're going to be hearing from Terry Jenkins, Martin Adams, and a few others lined up as well. So do keep an eye out on Twitter at Weekly Dartscast for any latest news on the Legend Series. We're going to be back on Thursday this week with another episode of our Riley's Lockdown Challenge, brought to you by Matthew Kinn and the Darting Nerd. A few more chats with some former Riley's UK Open qualifiers coming for that, so look forward to that. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you've enjoyed this show, and we'll be back to chat to you very soon. Hang tight.